Okay, I think in this video I'm going to talk about the differences between China and Macau, and I'm just going to be walking around filming it while I do it so you can see what Macau looks like. I think there's lots of images with China, so I think maybe Macau is a little bit more unique and harder to find images for. So I'm going to try to go through my differences with this particular video today. Go check out the room. Okay, I'm the content creator for this channel. If you like what I'm doing, just subscribe and hit the like button. Okay, here we are in Macau. We're overlooking the casinos. So number one biggest difference between China and Macau is, of course, the casinos themselves. There's no legalized gambling in China, so it's all done in here. And this casinos, they target towards the Chinese market as well. So basically when you go into the casinos, actually there's some have like standardized Chinese and some will have simplified, and a lot of it is because they're basically targeting that audience. And even right now with COVID times, you can overlook, this is Taipa right here. So you get to kind of get a good view of the city. And these are the Cotai casino area. And there's a car coming, so we're gonna move back over this way. But basically with the casinos, it basically brings stuff in. Gotta get out of the way of this car. It's kind of a tight fit. Let's see, there it is right there. But yeah, so anyways, casinos is number one. Let's just go, that one's probably the obvious one, so I'm not gonna elaborate too much. Number two is definitely gonna be the, I will talk about the people. The people are different. So in Macau, they've had a long exposure to foreigners, and there's a lot of foreigner presence here. You can even see in these buildings too, that these buildings are like Portuguese colonial style. There's another car. Let's get over to the side here, across this little way over. I guess I could have went through this way too, but I don't know why all the traffic today with the cars. But maybe we might even go up there and just go up and overlook the city, and I'll kind of talk about what's going on here. And let me see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the people are quite a bit different. So there's definitely Portuguese influence here. That's pretty much everywhere. And then and actually there's like Filipinos here, Indonesians here, foreigners here that are Anglo. The whole, I guess in the past they even had like Muslims usually became policemen. They were usually from Bengali or from Malay ethnicities. Malaysia and Bengal is part of India. I think that's also part of Bangladesh too, I think. But so basically the history with foreigners has been here for a long time. So all the Chinese people that are living here are used to that. So they're used to foreigners. So that's probably one of the biggest differences. As soon as I cross over into mainland China, I can feel like people really have little familiarity with foreigners. So I'll get more of the excessive attention, or looking at me for way longer than that's normal or comfortable. Not super bad, but it's very noticeable. But when I'm in here, people don't really think anything of me. And also the language barrier, I guess that would be number three. The language barrier is also quite a bit different here. So because of all the foreign influence, a lot of people speak English here. You have Cantonese speakers that communicate with Mandarin speakers, who communicate with Portuguese speakers, who communicate with Anglos and Filipinos in English, and the Portuguese usually use English to communicate with the Chinese and vice versa. So a lot of the Portuguese don't know Chinese very well, and most Chinese don't know Portuguese very well. So some do, but for the most part they don't. And so English is basically the medium that they all use. So basically it's very easy to communicate with English here, and people will code switch very quickly. Code switching means they'll just switch over from English right away. So I don't have any awkward conversations. And actually in Chinese I'll have the exact opposite. But I do want to talk briefly about when I used to live in South Korea and Japan. I was in Korea for quite a number of years, about 8 out of a 12-year period. And usually there, people would really struggle with English, and they'd make it kind of an awkward conversation. But here, there's no awkward conversations. They just kind of basically, just code switch right into English and get right into, whatever it is we're trying to communicate about. And there's no strangeness about it. Basically, I think we're going to go down this way and go around. So the language barrier is much lower in Macau than in China. So that'd be number three. So we did people, casinos. Cost is a big one. Macau costs are quite high. It's usually right up there with Hong Kong, or pretty close to Hong Kong. Let me see. I think we'll have to go around like this. It's a giant tree right there. And so, basically here, the cost, just to give you some examples, if I want to try to get some noodles, for example, if I find something for like, I'll just convert everything into American dollars. But if it's 4 or 5 American dollars, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cheap. But then of course, if I'm in China, I can get some noodles for maybe like $2. You know, that's just kind of an example, right? A lot of times I'll go over to Zhuhai, and that's not allowed right now with COVID. There's strict restrictions on any kind of international travel. China's really close to here as well. It's just a couple of kilometers away. I used to go there all the time, and I would if I went over there, I'd have my lunch and dinner. I'd just stay over there and eat because there's so much good food. Zhuhai is pretty good food city, as is Macau, but it's so much cheaper there, and it's just delicious. Just like really, I have some restaurants that I just really love to go to over there. So anyways, prices is a big difference between the two cities. Another big difference between the two cities, I don't know if I guess I'm comparing Zhuhai, but I mean to be comparing with China. But another big difference between the two is a legal system. So a lot of times I've heard countless stories of foreigners who lose money in China based on the legal system of not being able to, it's not protected very well. So a lot of foreigners, they prefer the legal systems in Macau and Hong Kong, especially if they're going to set up a business. They have more protections. So the legal system is based on Portuguese law, and yeah, we'll see. Well, hopefully that lasts a long time. I don't know. Nobody really knows the future with any of that. But that's definitely another big difference between the two areas of China and Macau. So we talked about legal system, people, prices, maybe let's talk about expats maybe. I guess expats here, you'd have a lot of casino jobs. There's also a racetrack. So I'll meet people who are involved with the Macau Grand Prix. Maybe they're racers themselves or mechanics. Some of them will be foreigners. Seems like there's some interesting opportunities for foreigners in the city. We're gonna go up to there. So we're overlooking the city right now, and we're looking in this little box right here. So we're gonna get off right here in a minute, and then I'll show you the real view. But you can kind of see the structure of it, and just like basically that's what we just went up on this steep incline. So let's get out of here. How are we gonna put that? There we go, and then we can show you the city from here. So yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm gonna walk. I'll just show you the space, and then we're gonna walk around a little bit. So okay. Yeah, actually this one, earlier there was a bunch of people working in here, like trying to scaffold it. Oh, there's actually some people can actually come up this way too. Can actually climb up this. There's some people up here too. Okay, let's talk about, so we're gonna walk in this way a little bit. So okay, there's a little trail you can see. So they chose to take the trail. It's good exercise. That's a good thing. That's one thing I like about pretty much everywhere in Asia. There's always like exercise machines, and people like to hike, and even more so among the older generation. All generations, but I notice the older generation is really healthy. Could be another video compared to, United States, where the older generation, isn't really that healthy at all. Okay, so now you can see all these little trails right here, this little brown trails. You can walk all the way across this way now. I did walk this way in another video once, while that wasn't quite fully built, and that was pretty cool actually. So, but we're going to be talking about differences between China. I'll say one thing let's do some similarities. One of the similarities is they both are just constantly building. This is all brand new. A lot of these casinos you'll see construction, like Morpheus is pretty recent. This one is being reconstructed. This is called the Londoner right there. City of Dreams had a different ownership and it's being built again. Galaxy keeps building new stuff. So this is Galaxy. I think not sure that one right there, but this one's Galaxy. And then those two green ones with all the scaffolding work on it is also Galaxy as well. I don't know how well you can see. It's a little bit foggy through this lens. I can see it pretty clearly. So okay, let's just kind of walk around and then I'll talk a little bit more. So basically, those are some of the differences between China. So I think I covered most of the basics. It's also easier to visit Macau for foreigners. China, it can be quite a chore for people to get the rights to visit there even sometimes. I think that's going to all change in the future, but at the current time, it's a lot of people can come into Macau very easily. I think like Filipinos and Indonesian can just come here automatically for I think 30 days, I think, something like that. You know, where like a lot of countries will not allow them to freely travel. A lot of them come here to look for work too, so so they'll come in and look for work on their travel visas. So actually that's another big difference too. You'll see here a lot of different types of foreigners from a lot of different nationalities. I mean, it's nowhere near as international as some places, but and actually speaking about that, when I visit Guangzhou in China, it's about an hour north of here, hour and 15 minutes. You'll see like African and Arabics doing like import-export. So that might be one where they're a little bit different groups of people that'll come. There's not much import-export here. It's more things are more set up in a different way. Let me see. I might just walk. We can actually take this all the way down, all the way in that direction. So okay, I might end this video for now, but those are some of the main differences between Macau and China. If you want to ask me more about it, or I can create a specific video on one specific thing and get a nice focus, I can do that too. So all right, hope you enjoyed this little talk about differences between Macau and China.